A couple of years ago, or a year or so ago, a couple came in to me, and they also joined my Master Presenter program. And I really, really care about these two. And they had some challenges individually, and I wasn't even aware of specific challenges they were having maritally. I was just working on their individual challenges and making him the best speaker that he could be, because I'm gonna bring them up and he'll tell you what his challenge was. And I was making her the best speaker that she could be. And one of the byproducts was what happened in their relationship. So Tim and Karen, come on up, because I just think it's valuable for you to just a few minutes, 3 minutes of hearing how voice changes people's lives. I just think this helps you from making similar mistakes that put you behind the 8 ball instead of in front of the 8 ball. Told you there were good places to eat around here. Please, come sit. Karen in the middle.
I was going to say, it's kind of talking, though. I'm just saying.
We will carry you.
Thank you.
Just 3 minutes. Because I just think that when people use voice to move themselves and everybody around them, it needs to be, you need to hear it and you need to see it. So why don't ladies first, why don't you tell us what some of the challenges were individually, and then what some of the challenges that you were having. How did working with voice change your life?
When I first met Roger, I spoke with the New York nasal, and I spoke very softly and quietly, and I thought I spoke really loud. So my husband would ask me, "What did you say?" And I'd be like, "What's your problem?" And I'd say it again, and he'd be like, "I'm sorry, but I can't hear you." And I'd be like, "You know what, you're just deaf." Well, it ended up he wasn't deaf. I spoke very, very quietly, and now this is what I speak like. I can use the microphone or I cannot use the microphone. Roger taught me that the person I'm speaking to is that one that's up in the balcony, way in the back, and that person needs to hear me loud and clear and to pronunciate every word totally, to stop and to let people take in what you're saying. Don't cheat them of any periods or commas. Those belong to them. My life's totally changed. My husband and I have the most wonderful relationship. We actually enjoy speaking to one another. I'll let
which can be a good thing every so often.
Right. I'll let him explain why we now both enjoy speaking to one another. But it's also helped me in my professional life. I work in the corporate world, and I relate now to not only people at a lower level, but to COOs who are now my friends in the same company. There's something that Roger has brought out of me that he saw. I didn't see it. He saw it. And without even realizing it, until things started happening, of which he'll tell you it will happen, and you just look at him like, "Oh yeah, right, whatever." You know, just because you're good looking, you think it's going to happen to me.
I don't remember that part.
But it does. And suddenly, people that you would never think would feel your energy and just want to get to know you. There's something about you, but they don't quite know what it is. But they know they need to know you. And that is my life today.
Beautiful. Wow. Thank you. Tim, amazing. Tim had a very unique challenge.
Well, I'm going to start out with as far as our relationship and then kind of work into the unique challenge portion of it. When we say we were having a bad relationship, when we first met Roger and started working with him, we had just been told by the marriage counselor that we should get divorced.
Not a very good marriage counselor. That's like me saying, I'm sorry I can't teach you how to sing. That means they went to a bad teacher.
Well, now that you mention it, she wasn't married either, so... So things were definitely, in our relationship, were not good. And as Karen has said, she spoke very, very softly. Well, where that started causing some problems joins in where I have some particular issues. I actually have Asperger's, so I'm on the autism spectrum, which means that I have a challenge already just picking up the verbals and what's trying to be said. I definitely don't pick up the emotional cues very well, and here Karen was whispering all the time. So you can imagine how frustrating it would get. It would be something along the lines of Karen would say something, I would say, what did you say, honey? And she'd say, you need to go get your ears checked, you got a problem. And this went on for 3 decades. And
But at the same time, you must tell of the edge.
okay, so the other problem that I had was I work in the technology industry, and like many people in the technology industry who tend to be a little spectrum leaning, I talked like a geek. And when you think of how does a geek talk, well, we go really, really fast. We don't use commas, we don't use periods. As a matter of fact, we don't even use breathing, and we just keep on going because, heck, we got somewhere to get, and I don't care if you can follow me or not. Right? And Roger sat me down and said, let's see, you're making your people feel stupid. He was pretty blunt about it, and that got my attention. And along the way, we cured another problem I had was, again, being autistic, I didn't really understand all those nuances that went with words. To me, communication was simply words. And I had a very sharp edge to my voice that would set you off. Karen actually has extreme high anxiety. So I'd come home from work wound up with that edge to my voice. And you can understand how this would quickly spiral downhill. I'd say something, it would be like pinning her to the wall, and I'd just keep going and going and going. She's like, and that's how we ended up there. As far as my own personal challenges, Roger has been absolutely phenomenal at helping me really become the person I needed to be to go out and do what it is I decided that I actually want to do. And I didn't know what that person was, but Roger knew what that person was. And what I'm doing now is I'm working as a neurodiverse communication specialist. And what that translates to is getting business and getting tech to work together and talk to each other and understand each other. And Roger's the one that gave me that ability now to speak and to communicate to both of those groups. And out of this, I've been fortunate to teach at Cornell. I've been working with professors up at Stanford. It's changed my life. It's changed my relationship with my wife, and it's changed the whole outlook for where I'm going. And I'm out to change how companies relate to tech people across the world.
Beautiful. You see, you start with your own voices, and then you see how that can change the world. So we live in a world where pretty much all corporations are dealing with the fact that, especially tech corporations, are dealing with some of the most creative people in the world are on the spectrum, and they communicate differently. And so all I had to do was train him to be an emotional speaker, an engaging speaker, which you don't normally find on that side of the spectrum. You find creative, you find the non-emotional. And then he took it from his world, his job, to how could I change the corporate landscape, global voice. If there are companies all over the world who are trying to hire people that are on the spectrum because they know the work they can get, but they have no way of communicating, he created an entire content system that allows companies now to train so that they can talk to the people that they actually know could do the best jobs, instead of having it being impossible to talk to them and actually get the work done and win-win. And what did that do? He's going to change the world and the way people think about the way autistic people speak and communicate and how it relates into business. That's global thinking. That's global thinking. They're both working on ways of changing the world because of what they learned. So I just want to say thank you. That was, I love you both, and I'm so proud of you for how far you've come, and thank you very much for sharing. So lovely. Amazing. Amazing. You're a killer.
Thank you so much.
Amazing.